This brief, very amateur video is intended to help you feel welcome here in the Education Lab as you do your work connected with the Reading Methods course, EDN 340, and the Math Methods course, EDN 322. This is the beginning of your EdLab Math and Reading Labs. This is just an overview that we've chosen to share with you in this format. Today all we want to do is give you an idea of who we are, some brief introductions, purposes of this lab, your tutoring requirements, and the first days of your tutoring. I know that's kind of heavy on your mind, but some ways that you can get ready to tutor, and some basic procedures that are necessary to working together here in the lab. So our introductions. I'm Becky Walker, lab instructor. Mr. Brinkley, Brian Brinkley, our lab director, is behind the camera at the moment. You'll see him in just a second.
Hello.
And MJ Gianmaria is our administrative associate. You'll see her as you walk into the lab most days. That's where she spends her time, is at that desk there. And we'll have a graduate assistant to introduce you to, and of course you, who is the star of this show. There will be many of you. I hope you'll get to know each other quickly. We'll take some time to take care of that in our first face-to-face labs as well. The purposes of the EdLab are for you to grow as a teacher, to start making some decisions, and to see yourself as you make that transition from a student, which you are here in the Education Lab, but you're also a teacher, a colleague of ours, as we try to implement the things that you're learning in your methods courses. You'll work one-on-one with a child here, making decisions for their learning growth. You'll meet and talk with parents. It might be the first time you've had that opportunity to act as a professional as you talk with these parents about what their child needs and report back to them the kinds of work that you're doing with the child. You'll write lesson plans for every time that you meet, and you'll perform in that really professional role. You won't be doing it alone. You'll have lots of support from all of us, and we'll talk in much more detail about how you do each of these things. The big idea, the big picture, is that you get to put on that teacher hat and have a child to work with one-on-one as you grow as a teacher here in the EdLab with us this semester.
So these are the basics. You have a reading and a math lab that you've already signed up for. Please make sure that you're in the right lab and the right course, and you'll get a half credit for each one of those lab classes. You'll tutor up to 1 hour and 15 minutes twice a week. If you're taking both the reading and the math, you'll tutor 1 hour and 15 minutes twice a week. If you're tutoring reading only, that's once a week. Twice a week for 1 hour, and math is once a week for 1 hour. So you'll get a separate grade for your lab classes, but the things that you do in the lab will also count for part of your coursework for your 322 or 340 coursework. Just make sure to check with your professor about how the lab work counts in your course grade. We'll place you with a student again very soon. After we get your placement information, we match those with the parents, and we will let you know when we have those ready for you to pick up. Then you'll give the parent a phone call and find out a little bit more about the child, a little bit more about that later, how you can make that phone call. But make the phone call and you start out as being that child's teacher. You'll begin tutoring within a week of receiving your placement after our first lab classes. The lesson plans that you will submit include the very first ones. We will provide you in a welcome packet a couple of ideas for your first sessions, and you'll submit those as your first lesson plans before you do your first sessions. And tutoring will continue through April. So you'll have about 11 weeks, 12 weeks to get in 10 weeks worth of tutoring. There's a little bit of flexibility in there. To let you know about how the lab works, this space is open on Monday through Friday. Monday through Thursdays, it's kind of a two-part day. The first part of the day is from 9 o'clock till about 2 o'clock. This is your planning space. The EdLab is a place for you to come in and look at all of the materials, work with each other, talk with us about how your lesson plans will go. And then about 2 o'clock things change because the children start getting here around 2:30, 3 o'clock. So it is more of our classroom. It's almost like running a school in the afternoon. We'll have up to 30, 40 kids, 30, 40 individualized teachers. So yeah, it gets really busy in here, and you'll have your own time, your own space, and your own learning with your child. Fridays are a little bit different. From 9 to 12 we're open to help you plan, for you to turn in lesson plans. A little quieter on Fridays, so if you have that time to come in and plan, that's a great time to do that. Tutoring happens between, of course, the hours of 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock Monday through Thursday. I usually stop to see if you have any questions when a picture comes up on the screen, so I'll take a little minute for you to think about if you have any questions about what we've talked about so far. One of the things I'm sure that you are concerned about is getting ready to tutor. At some point in that first week of classes, your methods classes, we come through and meet you then and have a blue card time. That's what we call it. We will provide you with a blue card, and you'll tell us your name, what you prefer to be called, so we can make your name tag, and we find out what days and times you're going to be available, and then that blue card information gives us what we need to be able to find a child to work with you in your tutoring time. You'll get your placements. Like I said earlier, we'll send out that email, make the phone calls, and say, come and get your placements when we have those available, and then you'll give the parent a phone call, find out more about the child, tell them a little bit about yourself, and set up your schedule for tutoring for the semester. And then it's time to prepare for your first semester. I told you that in your welcome packet you're going to have a first day lesson plan for reading and a first day lesson plan for math, and you're going to need to prepare those. So you're going to come and have to make some choices about what books to read with your child, what math activities, what math games to do that first session. We ask you to prepare what we call an airport sign, and we'll tell you more about that. I bet you can imagine what that is. But you'll be preparing for that first session with your child. A little bit nervous, I'm sure. That's what we're here for. Ms. Walker said it best. You are not in this alone. We're here to help you with that. We'll ask you to locate resources in the Ed Lab and the Curriculum Material Center. Some of you have used the lab before. Some of you have, this will be your first step into the lab. It becomes your classroom if you make it yours, and the way to do that is to come and spend time in here. So we ask you to locate some resources. There's a map quest that we have. The students in previous semesters requested that they have a little guided tour, so this in a sense is your guided tour. It's a way for you to get around and find the things that are important to know about, like the kitchen and the craft room, where to turn in lesson plans, where to pick those up. So that map quest is actually an assignment for the lab courses, and you'll turn that into our turn-in box. You'll see that in a few minutes, and let us know that you have taken the map quest tour of the Ed Lab.
The amateur part of this whole videoing. I assume you knew that was Mr. Brinkley talking to you. So there's your introduction to him. And we are going to follow me around as we do some things. But first I'd like Mr. Brinkley to kind of pan the lab for you. This is the computer section right here. Some of our math and reading resources on the shelves there. He'll walk over this way and show you the big space where there are tables for you to sit with your students as you're tutoring. There's also books. We've got over 15,000, 20,000, something like that, books in our collection now. You'll figure out which books are which as you do your map quest. You'll see on this countertop that Mr. Brinkley's kind of panning now, that's where our business center of the lab is. If you're looking for handouts or places to pick up things or sign in, this is where you'll do it. We have you shown them the kitchen already, Mr. B? We have a working classroom kitchen that you'll be invited to use as you're doing your tutoring. There is a little bathroom down this hallway for you and the students while you're here tutoring, and down that hallway, we won't take you all the way down, but down that hallway and to the right is the craft room. So you're getting a little idea, and if you'll flip it around, Mr. B, and show them the math games and the materials that they can find right here with the papers and everything. So lots and lots for you to find, but mostly you'll do that when you're doing your math quest. This is an important spot here. Some of our necessary procedures for us to get along well and to live in this space well together, so that we know where everyone is, are real crucial for you to hear and remember. Every time you come to lab class even, you'll sign in to let us know you're here, but most specifically, when you're tutoring, we'll ask you to sign in on this white sign-in sheet first. Tell us the time that your session begins and that you're actually here and who you're here to tutor. We use this to make sure we know where everyone is. You can sign in before you pick up your child to come in. You can sign in with your child when you come in, but always remember to sign in. We get really busy in here. We'll have over 100 tutors and children, pairs of tutors and children this semester, so not everybody's going to find a space to work in here every time. When you're not staying in here where we can put our eyes on you, we're going to ask you to sign out on this salmon-colored sheet so we know exactly where we can find you right away. In the Curriculum Materials Center through that door, in the flop areas out on the second and third floor, in the atrium. There's multiple places you can be as long as it's on the education building grounds. Sometimes there's a cancellation. Children get sick, parents have transportation problems, you have an issue, you're sick, whatever that might be. We keep that communication triangulated. If the parent calls us, we'll call you to be sure you know. If you call us, we'll call the parents to be sure that they know. If they call us, you know how it goes, we want to be sure everybody knows. We will record it here on this piece of paper so that we are aware always of who's not going to be here or who has had to change plans. Please don't be the one that writes it on there. Let Mr. Brinkley or our grad assist or me do that. We record it here and we record it in another couple of places, so we need to be highly aware. Make sure you tell us. Also, when you come to tutor, you might want to check the cancellation sheet just to be sure if you have any questions about whether there's been a change in your plan for the day.
So Ms. Walker talked you through the sign-in sheet and the sheet where you sign out and then the cancellation sheet. I'm going to tell you about one more way that we have to make sure that we live together really well, and that is with lesson plans. We have lesson plan forms for you already copied. They're here on the bottom of the counter. We have them color-coded. Blue is for reading, yellow is for math, and you're welcome to pick up those blank forms when you need them. You'll take them and hopefully use the Ed Lab to do your lesson plans, pick our brains and find some great activities and great ideas from your methods courses and from your own experience to do with the children, and then you'll be ready to turn them in to us. We ask that you turn those in a 2-pocket folder. You saw me just pick one up out of the extra folder pockets
bin.
This is, you'll also have one from your welcome packets this semester. So a 2-pocket folder, and we'll ask that you just put your finished lesson plans in one of the pockets. And then you'll find a time during the day to come and drop it off. Give us some time to look at those lesson plans. They're due by 12 o'clock noon on the day that you tutor, but you're welcome to turn them in ahead of time. But you drop them in the lesson plan box. Most people will drop them off before they go to class, and then they'll be prepared for you while you're at class. Ms. Walker, I will look at those lesson plans and give you some feedback on them. We'll leave sticky notes or suggestions. We'll challenge you sometimes about what you've chosen to do, but that's a good thing. You're becoming a teacher, and that challenge means that you have a good reason that you've chosen to do what you do with the children. We look at those lesson plans and record them, and then we return them back to you in the lesson plan pickup box. So this is where you'll find them when you come back to the Ed Lab. You'll pick them up out of here. Make sure you give yourself a little bit of time to look at those lesson plans, especially at the beginning of the semester. Don't expect to come in and just pick it up 5 minutes before you tutor, because there may be some suggestions that you need to spend some time on, like choosing some different books or some extra books or a different math activity. So give yourself a little extra time at the beginning of the semester particularly. Occasionally, we'll need some more information other than just maybe an extra book or an extra math activity. And if that happens, we have a box over on this side of the desk called the Come See Us box. If you find your lesson plan folder in there, that means you really do need to come see us. We want to make sure that you are well prepared for your session, and if you're not, when you turn in your lesson plan, we'll ask you to come and clarify a few things with us directly, one-on-one and personally. So if you find your lesson plan in this box, make sure you come see us. Those are some of the ways that we live together and making sure we sign in and sign out when we need to and turn in the lesson plans, and you're able to pick those up with feedback. It's our way of communication. We wish that we had time to spend a few minutes before and after every single session with you. With so many tutors, that's not possible. This lesson plan folder becomes our communication back and forth all semester, in addition to the time that we get to spend planning those lessons.
So remember to check your calendar, make time available for your tutoring, be ready to commit to that, and make it a wonderful semester as you spend time with this child. Stop by the Ed Lab and pick up your welcome packets. And that's for real. We need you to do that as soon as you can. There will be a packet for you with some handouts, some information that you'll want and need. We'd like you to do that before Lab Class 1. There are some forms in there that we'll want you to fill out and have ready for us during Lab Class 1. So come on by as soon as you can, pick up your welcome packet from us in the lab. The lab is located downstairs in the right-hand corner of the education building. I think it says room 126 on the outside, 130. We're down in that corner by the CMC. And then prepare to come to Lab Class 1.